Hello, everybody. Good evening. I'm welcoming you to GEMSS' Paralel event. It's going to be an evening with Müge Yürüten and Lorenzo Sizzi. They are one of the selectees of this year's GEMSS selection and exhibition. I'm going to introduce them very briefly because I would like them to take the stage in a minute. Both Müge and Lorenzo are educated abroad. Müge in Politecnico di Milano, Universitat Politecnica de Catalunya, and Politecnico di Torino, and Lorenzo in Politecnico di Milano. They are both architects, but they are working in a range of fields, and they are working internationally. So their presentation in GEMSS, for whoever hasn't been in the space in Beyoğlu in Istanbul, is standing out because of a beautiful silver curtain that is hanging there. And you will, during this presentation, learn what this silver curtain is about. So please, Müge and Lorenzo.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Müge.
I'm Lorenzo.
So we're Spazieriks, and we're based in Milano, and we're a very young studio exploring the relationship between human body, mind, and space through architecture and design projects. And now we're going to be sharing our screen and talk about our projects. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So as it's in our description, we're going to be talking about the interaction between human body, mind, and space as our main design approach and our main focus on our architecture and design projects. So we actually began our collaboration with the book recommended by my sister. So we started our collaboration with this first project called Nameless Sky. It's a pavilion, it's an open air pavilion, portable pavilion, to exchange and read books in public space. And the idea for this pavilion actually came to us reading by this book by Richard Brautigan, In Watermelon Sugar, in which in this world the sky is shining every day different color. And coming from this, having this inspiration by this amazing, brilliant book, we decided to create this space where people can experience different colors of the sky. Just as reading a book, they can create their own imaginary world. And with this idea in mind, we really wanted to create something simple, a simple wooden timber structure with a bow with a colorful dome, where in this case, with the selection of the materials that we decided to use, with outside, we can put books where you can exchange with the visitors in public space. And when you get inside the pavilion, you can have this imaginary world as you read your book, and as you read your own book, you can create your own imaginary world. So as we said, we're focused on human body and human mind. So for instance, in this project, we wanted to create this space where you can be in a space, like in an open air but closed space. And also there's a space, this internally colorful dome, which is made by special foil, where it's changing color based on the natural light. So every second, the colors that you see in the dome are different. And this is thanks to the material chosen correctly, let's say. So the idea was creating a physical space and imaginary space for the mind as you're reading book and going to imaginary worlds. And this is the project that we wanted to show you as the first project, because currently we're working on this project realization with a municipality in Italy. And currently we're working on the materials and realization budget and issues. So it's quite interesting to work on the realization process, even though it looks quite simple, there are so many details. But the main focus is we wanted to create not just a physical space, but a space for the human mind and exploration of different worlds and colors through light and different environments.
Okay, and perspectives. And the second project we are presenting today is called Verizon in Knownness, and is the project of a temporary installation from a competition in Spain located along the Camino de Compostela. And I highlight the geographical location, as in this case, our inspiration came exactly from that and exactly from the history deeply rooted in this particular context. And the installation, actually, it's also here quite simple structure, basically consists in a long tunnel and dealing with the idea of the Camino, the path of the pilgrims. We wanted to offer to the visitors, even though for a brief moment, a walk through a particular scenario, which is realized by these blue curtains that we decided to insert in the installation, with the aim of offering a particular and a different view of the context, perspective of the context. In this case, the color, also as it happens with the previous project, was a very important aspect. And also the internal path of this tunnel is full of particular references to the context and the history of the place. For instance, the rocks that we see inside the path that were the same of the first slide of the image are a reference to the shells that the pilgrims were used to take at the end of the Camino. And so here we just decided to put these stones and to invite users to take the stones home after visiting the temporary pavilion, to frame this experience in time, also to frame a temporary experience and to remember it for the future.
It's a long-term relationship.
Exactly, as it happens with the pilgrims and the Camino. And so, moving on.
And moving on into our next project, as we also explained in the previous one, the colors are quite important for us, not just visually, but also creating different environments and during the different times of the day. For example, this is a project that we developed during a pandemic, which we are still in. But at the beginning of 2020, when we were all having problems with this first COVID period, let's say, we designed this product, this space, for the entrances of the houses, as we call reintroducing a new entrance for the indoor spaces, in which is placed just in front of the door before you enter your home or office, where you can clean yourself before entering your household. And this simple space with different colors have different color combinations chosen by the different users or different spaces. And moving on, would you like to add something?
Well, yes, this is the third example when we try to highlight how we try to affect the space by using colors. And with the next project, also through materials.
Exactly. And with this one, we like to experiment not just with colors, but also materials, especially creating the sustainable materiality approach with our product design projects. In this case, we try to create three types of stools by using three different materials and understanding the relationship between soft or sharp materials by using also different colors together. For instance, in this second prototype, which is inspired by columns, as you can see, we decided to use a very sharp steel material together with the very smooth and very easy to touch sponge material. So we wanted to experiment the relationship between human body with these two materials acting together in one body. And this is the first prototype, as we tried with the wooden material, which was recycled wooden, which was a production waste that we collected from different places. As we said, together with material experimentation, we were also trying different color combinations and different color studies, again, based on different uses and based on different spaces. And we usually work with, before the final product, we like to try different colors, just in order to see the different options and also the environment that they create with different combinations, usually also with color gradients that we usually use.
So even though it's a small object, the idea is that also a small object, a piece of design, can make the difference in a space. And so we like sometimes physically, but some other times digitally, to test all the possibilities that we could deliver. And then this third project is a lamp lighting design, where we try to combine our two interests, so rough materials, colors, and also lighting. And the result was this very simple linear light, where there is this piece of plexiglass, and depending on the color of it, we saw that the environment in the room completely changes. Also, our second interest on this project was to try to show the process behind the design, as for us it's very important. Also, with the previous tool, we could see they were inspired by some architectural structural element. In this case, we decided to show this abaco configuration, highlighting in somehow the labor, the human labor that there is behind the design project. And then, yes, let's go with our last project. This is the one that is mainly showcased in the exhibition space. Was also mentioned the curtain in the beginning. And this is a temporary installation it was commissioned by the artistic director Alessandro Mazzucchetti of the Città Sant'Angelo Music Festival. And here it's a realized project, and here we were asked to understand the opera Don Pasquale by Donizetti and to deliver a spatial installation. So in this case, the inspiration from us came from the world of the music, and in particular, analyzing the opera and analyzing the behaviors of the character. We were very interested by one of the protagonists, the Don Pasquale, and his massive ego, as it was possible to see in the beginning. So our idea was to tell this story, transforming the massive ego of the Don Pasquale in an inflated balloon. So it's kind of metaphor. And this balloon is surrounded by a curtain, which is a reference to the theatric and artistic dimension of the opera. And in this case, also as in the previous project, the materials were very important to us, as we selected reflective surfaces, because in one hand, we tried to tell the story, tell interpretation of the opera. On the other hand, we try to also stimulate a personal reflection on the audience, on the visitors, that could reflect themselves in the sphere and their hues in the curtain surrounding the sphere. And it was the opportunity to ask them to reflect on the role of the ego in everyday life.
And yes, and the installation, just as the opera, was created in 3 parts. So inflation of the balloon, so increasing of the ego as the character itself, and the duration of the temporary installation, which was 2 weeks. And as the last part, as the third part of the installation, we decided to, just as the protagonist of the egoist person, we decided to illustrate that the ego, just as balloon, deflates at one point and affects also the surroundings. So we wanted to illustrate also after showing the powerful image of the ego itself, we wanted to also show this fragile identity of the person with ego that will deflate at some point. And we're going to illustrate that right now. So just as we described, we wanted to also have this interaction with this dynamic installation experience, but also with the users, and illustrate the final version of Ego itself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm glad that you have shown us a sort of rounded view of your works.
Yes.
Because like I said, they are spanning quite a few fields, but what they do have in common is what you actually set out in the mission of Spazio X, which is that you are focused on relationship between human body and mind and space through architecture, design, and visual research. And when we were talking before, you had mentioned that research is a very important part of your process. Could you tell us a little bit about, let's say, research on this project that we're looking at here? What were the aspects of it that you have researched?
Okay.
I can say something. Yes, thank you for the question. So our research, in the beginning we said our project are research-based project, and in the case of all the design we showed, it's a transdisciplinary research, meaning that we don't look for inspiration or for reference only in the architecture and design world, but we are interested to find a story for our projects, and we are interested to kind of mix, involve different disciplines in our perspective. So in this specific case, we spent the first period of time looking for temporary installation in architectural book or design book. But in the end, we tried and we understood that if we wanted to have something unique, or we want to try original, we need even just one thing, but it needs to come from some other sources. And in this case, we got the recommendation, and we actually read the book, and this was the beginning of the design. So
and our journey, actually, because
yes, exactly.
With this project, maybe we didn't mention, but this project was for a competition, international competition, which was selected as the first prize. And with that, actually, we started our journey. So everything thanks to this book.
Yeah, gave us the confidence to continue. And after reading the book, there were some aspects of this book that we were very interested, and it was the case of the sky. And then starting from that, we built all the concept, and the design was a kind of the consequence.
Organic, yeah.
So
the process was quite organic, actually.
So it's a research. It's a particular research, and for every project is different, but the idea is that we try to start to find something where to start developing ideas.
Research is always in parallel, like during the design process, we never end the research until the end, like we continue to research. So while we were reading the book, we were designing, but it was also like evolving through the pages as it's in the book. So it's quite a journey. For example, for this case, for this project that we were working on, the idea was inspired by spiritual journey and spiritual people taking this journey. So we wanted to get into that world as well. So understanding those mindsets of those visitors and walking the Camino de Santiago. So like when we research, we want to enter inside the project, like the visitors, the users themselves.
I'm always looking for a meaning in, absolutely everything. So for instance, you have chosen this particular color, and if I remember correctly, this section of path that you have worked on is 17 meters or something like that long.
Yes.
Why exactly that? In my mind, there are always whys for every decision that you make. Can you explain that a little bit? 17 is a particular length. It's not 20 meters. It's not 25, why 17?
Well, in this case, the specific length is coming from the dimension of a bridge which is close by. This installation is located in a vineyard close to the city, close to a city, and there is a very old historical bridge made by stones, and the length of every arch was 17 meters. And then also the bridge came as inspiration for the arches that we find in the beginning and in the end of this path. And at the same time, the colors is a reference to the vineyard itself. And the name of the project, that is Verizon in Nones, comes from the Verizon part of the titles come from the fact that the grapes change color during their process before the harvesting. And so we decided to kind of incorporate everything inside this path. So it was not only about the pilgrims and their spiritual journey, but it was also about
the context
and
itself.
the historical
the context as well. Yeah. Another thing that I'm interested in is the use of fabrics. You like to play with fabrics a lot, and whereas fabrics were present in different periods of architecture, recently, they are not. They have given into the hard materials. Maybe they are coming back slowly, but how do you feel about using textile outside? Look, for instance, this one, I know what it is because I have touched it in the GEMSS' exhibition space, so I know that it can withstand rain. But there is probably also a place, I don't know whether in this stretch of walkway that you did or somewhere else, in a fabric that would really show that it was soaked by rain, and that it would reflect the weather, that it would then get dried by wind and would behave differently in these atmospheric conditions. Were you at all considering, these weather conditions in any of your projects that include fabric?
Yes, I mean, actually, the main goal of using the textile fabrics in our projects are to create a dynamic space, and dynamic and specific space. So being in present, actually. So because when you're using a very soft material, just as the fabrics that we have chosen until now, they're quite, so there is no simple shape. It's always changing, always in movement. But we had to consider, especially for this project, we had to consider also the strong weather conditions, such as a storm, which we had an experience for this one. So after the storm, we had to connect some points of the fabric. But in a way, we kind of enjoyed that one because, as you mentioned, the reflection was changing after the storm. The texture was giving more dense in a way with the light, with natural light. So the use of fabric, it works well for us because it helps us to create a dynamic, like it increases the dynamic space, and it gives us different chances of different sections. So where our plan, as we demonstrated here, our plan and our sections are always changing because they're never in stop, they're always in motion. So that's why, in a way, we like to use fabric, textile materials, and mostly reflective ones in order to use the reflection of natural light, as we usually like to work in outdoor spaces.
And then there is also a bit of a technological research behind using these fabrics on the outside. And in the beginning, the behavior of these fabrics was a bit unpredictable for us because we really like their effect on the design. But then, due to the wind, it changed constantly. And also there are some consequences. So we also have to think how to fix this material. Do we want the material to be still, or we are okay with the fact that it constantly moves, or it's like made of different pieces, or it's only one affected with the same behavior? So it's like a paragraph of construction itself for us using fabrics, especially on the outside, actually.
Yes.
Just one more question about fabrics, then we will go in other areas. This, I don't know how you call it. How do you call this fabric that you're using for this project? It's not of one color, it is changing. But you also mentioned that it's going to change depending on the light. Where will the light come from? Is there going to be a lighting element, or are you just are you talking really about the sunlight and different conditions because of possibly clouds or where the sun is positioned? How is the light going to change?
So in the case of this design, it's an outdoor pavilion, and we were able to decide the location. So we decided that the ideal position is a natural environment, so possibly a park or a forest. And the fabric, there are two fabrics. The one inside, which is the iridescent fabric, and it changes color because of the property of the material, and depending on the light and the amount of light on the outside, it changes color on the depending on how the light reflects on the brightness level of that day.
And we have a window at the top of our dome, as you can see in the just in Pantheon.
And the outer fabric, which is the white one, is half semi-transparent, so the light goes through it.
Yeah.
So that's the way we intend to have this constant ever-changing of light and colors. And so this is the main thing about this idea of recreating the imaginary world is built around.
But always connect to the nature one. So imaginary world, but also has this connection with the reality. That's why that was the reason we wanted to place a window also, just to keep the connection with reality while you're imagining, while in your imaginary world.
This window is one of my favorite parts of this project, because I can really imagine it working wonderfully, because it will always be framing something else, unless it's completely clear.
With clouds and...
Yeah. Can we go to your soap project?
Yes.
A little bit. Okay, I would like to understand the role of light. Does it, I think that when I read about the project, it said that the change of light tells you when you have been disinfected enough.
Yes.
Okay.
20 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. And how does the disinfectant, where does it come from?
Do you want to say?
Wait.
Okay. The idea behind this project is to thinking about a very common technology, which is this one of vaporized disinfectant. And there is a kind of ring in the kind of room for disinfection that we imagine. And it's temporized. So when you enter home, it's you press a button and it starts vaporizing the solution.
Which at the same time light goes.
Exactly. And the use of the light for us was important, like to join the two technologies, two very simple technologies, but to join them to offer an experience also for the users. And also the light, when the process is over, the light stops as well. So it's a kind of
indication.
Yes, it's an indication, and it's also something aiming to transform something that is mostly functional in something that maybe people would want at home, or like, of course, it was an experimental project, but the idea also having here a kind of experience, even though it's not, it's a different experience from the one of the pavilion or the temporary installations. So it's always about how the human body feels inside a space, and the perception, the body and also the mind.
So we wanted to give this, when you enter this space, you get this sanitation, and when you exit this space, you feel safe in terms of to enter your house or enter your indoor space or office. So idea was that creating a space that gives you this safety before entering safety in terms of sanitation before entering your indoor spaces.
And this project comes from the period in Italy of the first quarantine, where like we were allowed only to go out to buy groceries and food, and after coming home, we change clothes and we wash hands and everything close to the door, so not to go around in home with dirty clothes. And so this, I mean, was the inspiration for the time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, everybody will remember one thing or another, but you have also this. Now, what is the material here?
The what?
Material.
What are the walls? I'll tell you how they look to me like that it's something that is inflated.
Inflated balloons, yes, they're plastic.
Yes.
Yes, in this case, we want to experiment with inflated balloons where you can easily change the light when you enter, when you exit. It was kind of challenging because there is no direct entrance, but we wanted to give freedom of where you can exit, where you can enter to this space, as it has this almost semi-circular shape. You can exit or enter whatever you feel like.
So it's like the idea of a membrane.
Yes.
A membrane. So in this case, we didn't use fabrics, but we decided to try a different
material.
Yes.
But it's also very good because it's lightweight.
Yeah, very light. Yeah, it's actually hanged. The structure is
it's
not
to the ceiling.
visible there, but it's hanged to the ceiling. Okay. It's not based on the floor, just not to damage. And we thought it's a temporary, so we were then thinking, it will just take 1 year, this pandemic, so they will just remove it after, but it's not. That was not the case.
And you imagine this to be an indoor thing?
Yes.
Outdoor.
This is the idea of also interpreting a space. So as architect, we started thinking about our routine at home, and we identified a particular space mostly affected by the situation, which was the entrance. So this came with this light structure that could also adapt to any entrance space, any entrance dimension and shape. And so, yes, it's indoor, and it's specifically told to be located in the entrance. As soon as you open the door, you were inside this kind of buffer.
Bubble.
So, yes, this was the original idea.
An intermediary space, which does this function that we needed during the pandemic. An intermediary space before the entrance.
Yes, before the outside and before the inside.
The buffer space, actually.
Okay. Now, I am wondering whether we have any questions from our listeners, people who have joined. I would, of course, like to invite some questions. So at the moment, there seem to be none, so we will just continue, but we will be looking and waiting if somebody has something to ask. Okay, so in terms of this product design that you also went in when designing these tools, I can understand that you were trying to experiment with different materials, and especially discarded materials. We were talking also before about recycling and so on. But what I am not clear about is the shape. Why did you match these materials with the shape that we recognize as beams or as particular steel sections? What's the story behind that?
Well, the story was actually, just as in the video, I'm not sure if it's going well right now, but we wanted to create a continuous collection made with different materials. So the idea behind the column was just as we're cutting a column,
Okay.
We're creating different materials, like the same body made by different materials. That was the aim of the experiment, actually. So creating the same model with different ideas.
Okay. And are you still continuing this project? Is it going to be maybe, are other materials going to come in? Right now, there is timber and this foam.
We're working on different colors currently. I mean,
okay.
This color study was also one of the latest color studies that we were developing, like we were trying for the timber version, right?
Yes. Because this was for us also the chance to experiment, and of course we say the experiment a lot, but as we also like to build and to work with construction tools, and we wanted to understand the behavior of the material, even when they are used as a rough material, as pure material, or when they are treated and maybe enhanced by the use of colors. And so all those product design projects, both the tools and also this lamp, were for us a chance to understand how they work, also understand how to build something, and at the same time we also, I'd say, we had fun because we could we saw that in the end expressing our idea, it's not that hard sometimes. It just takes the energy to go and to look for some object and to start matching them and to start joining them. So it's a kind of interesting aspect of our profession.
Yeah,
and at the same time it sounds almost like a game.
Yeah, we enjoy it. I mean, we don't see what we're doing is we don't see it as a job or work. Like we really enjoy. We kind of live with this idea of like when we see a material, we say, "Oh, okay, maybe this can match with that. We can try a lamp or stool or table." So in a way, it's not like mandatory to think, but it's always currently on our minds. Let's say
it's a journey of exploration. It looks like. Now, this lamp, is it something that is actually possible to buy?
Well, it would be, and we also had the chance to build some for some friend of us that were interested. And one of the future steps that we wanted to undertake was to seriously thinking about the production. But then, of course, as designer, there are still a lot of steps that we have to go through that for us at the moment are a bit obscure, I'd say, like regulation, certification. So, but
we're working on
yes, and we are also keen to build the object for whomever is interested. Of course, not in an industrial scale, but this is something that we also really. And then we are also proud if someone is interested in the product. And yes.
We like to see it in someone else's house or other spaces.
This is the
but in a way also this process itself must be very interesting, getting something approved, because of course now in European Union you have to everything marked with that sign, and so on, and obviously there is a lot of steps to go through before that happens. But it would be challenging, exactly to see how a simple product like this, yes, it does contain electricity, so everybody understands why there are regulations that one should obey. But how to obtain permits, regulations, and so on, so that it is ready for to be sold on the market.
Yes.
I think that must be quite an interesting thing. We have touched on another thing that you are dealing with in all your projects, which is sustainability. And you like to point out that sustainability has many facets. It's not just about environment, but it is also about society and so on. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yes.
So yes, as you mentioned, we believe that sustainability has an aspect in every manner. And for instance, for this project, we wanted to focus on sustainability in terms of cultural exchange. So in this case, we're a pavilion dedicated to read books and also exchange books, exchange culture, exchanging knowledge. We believe that that's also part of sustainability, like creating this sustainable cultural exchange in this spatial space.
Yes.
Like
So in this case was cultural sustainability, and also in the case of Pallone Gonfiato, the installation for the music festival was about culture, and for us was a very important chance to give people the possibility of experiencing their usual place in an unusual setting. After still it was summer, so after the winter isolation period was offering to them a chance to see this piazza with this particular installation. While in the case of the stools, it was another kind of sustainability, as we mentioned before, because we were looking for construction waste, and so we were going through shops in our area looking for the correct material that we could use and that they were going to eventually throw. So in somehow, even though we experiment and we try, we also have some perspectives, and we try to put designs in a general path, which in most of the cases is sustainability for us. And it's very contemporary and interesting topic, and also important, I say, in the current time. Yeah.
I have another question, which is about okay, you are based in Milan, and you have both studied abroad, and you're working internationally, but you are also tied to Turkey, obviously through Müge. But what are your projects in Turkey? How are you connected to it? What are your plans here?
Yes. Well, at the moment, it's true that we are based in Milan, but we are mostly based online, I'd say, because of course we have one realized project. It was in a city in the middle of Italy, but then we took part in many international competition, and we like to imagine us to going in different places around Europe, but also around the world. And in this case, of course, with Turkey, we have a strong relationship because Müge is from Turkey, of course. And also we'd love to have the chance to do something more serious and more interesting, also maybe to build something in Istanbul or in other cities in Turkey. So the thing is that our horizon is not focused only in one physical city, in one physical space, but it's like a wide horizon, and we will be happy to travel and to do something also in Turkey,
yes,
as well as abroad.
Yes, and specifically for me, it was a great chance for us to be chosen by the Circle team. I mean, it's a great honor to be part of this organization, because it was the first time that we got into this organization in Turkey, and I was very happy to be started to this express ourselves in Turkey, in the, let's say, field in Turkey. So it was a great chance for us to present ourselves and hopefully get involved more with projects in Turkey.
And of course, it was a very international experience as well, because even though most of the participants were from Turkey, some of them are based in Europe, in other countries, and so they all brought their different perspective and background. So it was very interesting and important for us, and
a great honor.
Yes,
for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, you have answered my last question by what you said. I'm just curious, are you keeping in touch with people who you met in this GEMSS group?
Social media, we follow our words.
Yes. Currently, at the moment, we didn't develop a particular relationship with any of them, but we met with all of them. We also follow their presentation, and maybe in the future we hope
to collaborate.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we hope too. That some interesting collaborations are going to happen.
Yeah, we will
amongst you. Yeah. So let's see if any questions arrived from YouTube. I don't think so. Okay. Well, obviously, I was posing really good questions then, because nobody else needs to ask anything. Müge and Lorenzo, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and I wish you, all the best in your future works. And I really would like to see you do something here. So
we hope as well.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye to everyone.
Bye, Hakan.
Thank you.